Welcome to another episode of the Closers Klub with me, your host, Robert Nichols. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Rosa Collado from New York City. Rosa is a real estate agent and entrepreneur who hails from New York City, currently working in Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and all of the boroughs. She shares exactly what it took to transition from corporate America working in an administrative job to going full-time as a real estate entrepreneur, and how she continues to grow by investing in herself every day. This is a powerful episode as she shares her journey and talks about motivation to keep you going, to keep you pushing, because your success is on the other side of that pain, of that struggle, or whatever you're going through. Before we jump into the episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to my podcast. I appreciate all the support, and that small gesture will help us grow. Now let's get into this episode, as I'm sure you're going to really enjoy what she has to share. Welcome back to another episode of the Closers Klub. Today, we're joining you from Zoom. I've got Rosa Collado from New York City. How you doing today, Rosa?
I'm doing great. How are you, Robert?
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for being on the show. Rosa and I met recently at Myron Golden's Make More Offers Challenge down in Tampa, Florida. It was a transformative event. I learned a lot, met a lot of great people like Rosa, and I'm really excited to put a lot of that to work. What did you think about the conference, Rosa?
First of all, thank you so much, Robert, for inviting me. I am so grateful to be here. The conference was amazing. I ended up meeting a lot of great individuals. I learned so much, not only into how to grow my business, but how to grow myself as an individual as well.
I love it. Likewise, I can relate to that 100%. Cool. So, Rosa, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, I am a real estate agent here in New York City, and I sell residential. I do commercial. I'm also an investor here in New York City. And what I'm doing now is that I'm helping individuals that are looking to get into investment. So I have an event coming up tomorrow on how to buy auction properties. So that's what I'm doing right now. Educating.
I love it, Rosa. Auctions are a great strategy for folks looking to buy distressed properties, especially when inventory is as low as it is these days. Before we get deeper into the real estate strategy, tell us a little bit about your origin story. Where were you born and raised? And most importantly, Rosa, how did you find your way into real estate?
Well, I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came here when I was 8 years old. My mom actually came in one of those big boats. So that's how we ended up coming to this country. So from the ground up, very poor. And I went to college, which is what everybody says, go to college. I got my bachelor in business administration. Right away, I got into corporate America. I had one of my friends who told me, hey, you should look into real estate. So I started doing real estate, renting properties. And I remember I felt so bad because I'm like, wow, this person's paying me 1 month rent just to show them a property. So then I'm like, okay, let's see if this is something that I can do. And the person was so grateful to pay me that money that I'm like, wow, if they're that grateful to pay me to help them find them an apartment, then this is really what I want to do. Their gratitude was something tremendously that I felt from them versus me working in corporate America. So as I'm working in corporate America as an administrator, I was doing real estate part-time. Now I transitioned from doing rentals. Mind you, I was making $10,000 a month just renting properties here in New York City. And I had a full-time job as an administrator. I was a hard worker. I would work from 9 to 5. And I would push everyone to see apartments around 6:30. I would say, listen, this is the only time the owner has available between 6 and 6:30. So I will get a group of potential tenants to see the apartment. I will have 10 people for one apartment. That created a little bit of anxiety between everyone. And that led me to get 1 or 2 people that said, you know what, I'm interested. And I gave me the opportunity to speak to the owner, and the owner had 2 or 3 people. So every week I was getting 1 to 2 rentals getting done. Then I decided, you know what, if I can change this philosophy into buyers, that's what I started doing then. I started getting buyers together, 2 or 3 buyers to see a property. And that's really where I started excelling in real estate. I was still working in corporate America. And one day I had my boss who, mind you, I'm working real estate. I'm also an administrator. I told my manager comes in and he's like, you're on the phone. You're always on the phone. I'm like, listen, I have an emergency. He's like, you know what? You gotta come to my office right now. We need to have a conversation. I go into his office. This man curses at me and says, what do you want me to do? You want me to fire you? Walks off. And I'm here. He walked off because he had to take a plane ride, and he's in Turkey now for a week. And I'm contemplating this entire week. And I believe in God. I was a Sunday school teacher then. And
Yep.
I felt like the Holy Spirit telling me, you need to leave. And I'm like, but how am I going to leave this job when all I have is right now a $10,000, check that's going to come my way from this deal? I have no other buyers. I don't have any properties listed. How am I going to do this? So God was just like, just go ahead and do it. I told my boss once he came in, hey, I'm going to quit. I quit and he didn't want me to quit. Obviously, it took me 3 months for me to get out of that job. He was like, I'm going to pay
Wow.
you money. Now I'm getting paid $50 an hour. When I started, I was making 20.
Yep.
They had to hire 4 people to replace me. So long
Wow.
story short, I leave the job. I start doing real estate full time September 1st. I'm standing in front of a computer. I'm here just checking and I'm telling God, like, you wanted me to quit this job? I have nothing to do. What do I do now? And I started door knocking, phone calls, door knocking. That first month, me doing real estate, I got 8 listings. And
Wow.
8 listings. And to top it all off, 3 out of those 8, a church wanted to buy it. Just as a reminder that it was not me, but it was definitely God's work on that. But I
Yep.
did put in a lot of work. And now, I mean, I've been doing real estate full time, I want to say for about 7 years. I've sold over 150 properties. I've sold over close to $1 billion in sales. So this is really what my main focus is, just real estate. Best decision I've ever made. I wish I would have made this decision and skipped college and gone
Yep.
straight into real estate.
Wow. What a powerful story, Rosa. I can relate. I worked corporate as well before I got into real estate full time. And very similar to you, one of my coworkers was the one that put me on, right? He was one of my good friends. He came in one day with a $10,000 check to one of our meetings. Just happened to sit next to me. He was like, brother, I got to show you something. Check this out. He whips out a check. And at the time, I was making $36K a year. And so to see that $10,000 in one deal when I was like, 23 years old, I'm like, man, what did you do, rob a bank? And so that was kind of what sparked my interest. And similar to you, I actually bought my first rental property and I was just doing it on the side. I ended up getting my license ultimately. But I really want to commend you for your courage and for sharing your story and, for really talking about what it takes to take a leap of faith, right? Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people, we get caught up in the negative self-talk. We get caught up in the fear and all these emotions that hold us back from really capturing the life that we really isn't in store for us, based on God's plan, not on our plan. And so I really just commend you for that. So what do you think gave you that courage? Was it your faith? What, it was it, knowing that there was a better pathway? Kind of speak on that a little bit.
For me, I would say it's a combination of both. For me, it felt more of, you know what, if God is leading me to this path, is for a reason. So it was more of like, you know what, I'm going to go with what God wants me to do. And then also my mindset was like, all right, if I was working for someone and making $55,000 a year, 9 to 5, I need to be just as disciplined in real estate and work from 9 to 5. And that's really what I did. I'm like, I'm going to take this as a job. I'm going to work 9 to 5. I'm going to put in my hours. And if I don't have anything to do, there's always something to do in real estate, whether it's making calls, whether it's filling out paperwork. But I had that dedication and that motivation because I also wanted to buy a house. So my first year doing real estate, I bought my first investment property with 20% down. And that's what was my mindset. Like, I need to get that. And within that first year, then I created already that discipline, right? Where I was working that regular job, then doing real estate part-time. And then after that, saying, okay, I'm going to stay with that same discipline. And then year over year, it's in me now. It's hard for me not to want to work because I love what I do.
I love that, Rosa. Where would you say your discipline comes from? Because a lot of people out there, they always say they struggle with self-discipline. Is that something you've always had? Is it something you developed over time?
I would say it's something I developed over time, especially me coming from an immigrant family. I saw the struggle. My mom had 3 jobs, right? While she had to take care of 3 kids on her own here in this
Wow.
country where she didn't know the language. So seeing my mom go through that, and then me just knowing that I wanted to be successful, that I wanted to be the best version of myself and see how much I can do, how much money can I make, how much impact I can make in this world. So that was really like the discipline. The focus was like, what can I do? I saw my mom struggle. I don't want to struggle. And I want to be the very best version. And I want to see how much I can do.
Right. No, I appreciate you sharing that, Rosa. Something else that came to mind when you were speaking, when you talked about your strategies you use to get into the game and actually start making your first $10,000 as a real estate agent, is creativity. I heard you say you started doing group showings for tenants, and it's crazy, Rosa, but a lot of agents never actually connect those dots, right? To start doing that, to create that urgency, to create that buzz and that energy. Where did that come from? Is that something you just thought of? Like, or did you see someone else do? Did you have a mentor?
Well, it came from me thinking I only have this small window, right? I only can show properties between 6 and
Right.
6:30. So it came from
Yep.
that. It came from, okay, I
The
leave
necessity.
for job at 5. So let me get there at 6. I'm giving everybody 30 minutes because now from those people that are there, how many people can I pick? Let's say if I'm getting 10 people, maybe I can take 3 other people to another rental at 7. So that was the mindset. I need to close 1 a week, 1 to 2 a week. And how can I put them in groups, knowing that then I can take another little group to another apartment?
Got it. So it's out of necessity, right? You got this little time window. You have to make it happen within that time frame. And that really is what was the beginning of that process. But I'm telling you that actually helps a ton. I run a brokerage as well as one of my businesses, and we've seen that play out. It definitely works.
I mean, I just did an open house on Sunday. And on that open house, we had, mind you, I only did it for 1 hour. We had 23 people to come in. We had people in line waiting for an entire hour. So it was 1 to 2 and it turned from 1 to 3. And we
Wow.
had some
Wow.
offers on it as well.
Got it. Speak a little bit about the types of properties you work with, Rosa. So you do rentals, you do sales. Are you selling condos, multi-families? Talk a little bit about that. And what are your favorite types of real estate?
So I'm here in New York. I do mostly more residential. So I do more 2 family, single families. I do a little bit of condos and co-ops, but I'm more focused on the residential. And the reason why is because a lot of them have headaches, right? There's properties with violations. So I already have the
Yep.
connections of how to remove violations and make that easy. For me, I like the challenge. I like when somebody is in a pickle, and then I want to help them really get out of that situation. That's just been me. How can I solve an issue? So I prefer residential, single family, multifamily here. I'm in New York City, so I cover the 5 boroughs. I'm mostly based in Queens. So I do Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, and the Bronx.
Nice. Excellent. Excellent. Wow. No, those are all very, very busy markets. Have you seen things change recently since COVID versus now? Is it very similar? Has it not slowed down?
So right now, what's happening is just like you mentioned earlier, inventory is very low. That's one.
Right.
Any property that is under $1 million or just priced around that price range will get you a lot of buyers. So that's
Mm,
one. The other thing that I'm seeing is that if the property does not have parking, it is taking a little longer to sell. I see that the bankers, unfortunately, are taking a little longer also to close on the deal here. And not sure it has to do where they're having more guidelines, more restrictions. So
right.
that's really important. Right now, I'm vetting every buyer, even if they come with another realtor and they have another lender, they still have to get vetted through my lender just to make sure.
Right.
Right now, I'm in the phase where I'm actually learning what an underwriter does so that I can see the individual's paperwork and I know whether that person is going to qualify or not. Because you can be in a contract now for 3 months, and that 3 months of you being stuck, that can really be an issue because if you decide to sell it later on, you might not possibly have you might not have so many buyers coming because now buyers are thinking, wait, that was in the market. Why didn't it sell? So now they're thinking there's an issue with the property versus there's an issue with the actual buyer. So you have to be very strategic now versus before you could just put a property in the market and it'll sell quickly. Yes, you could still sell quickly, but the bigger issue now is can you take it to the finish line? Can you close it with that lender?
Right. No, I love that, Rosa, because I think from the outside looking in, right, and especially people who are early in business, they look at business like the microwave. You push a button, you set it, and you forget it, right? And we both know that's not how it works. You have to control as much as the process as possible to ensure that you get to the finish line. Because otherwise, when you try to take your hands off of things, or the people involved are not people that you respect and work with, and they can deliver, that really will hurt your livelihood. So I really commend you for sharing that, because I think so many people in the business, they're struggling and they don't realize that they need to control more of the process. Yep.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Cool. Quickly, Rosa, it sounds like you work very hard, right? And I talk to a lot of folks about this. I ask all my guests get this. Do you believe in a 4-hour work week?
Do I believe in a 4-hour work week? Well, you see, I'm not in there yet. I do believe
Right.
I believe in me. For me right now, I'm working 4 hours a day. So it's that 4 hour of being very focused. And the reason why is because I had a big team. And right now, my focus is moving from just selling real estate to also educating. So
Nice.
because of that, right now, I'm a little bit into that 4 hour a day versus a week.
I got you. Yeah, I'll tell you, most of the folks I know who are succeeding at the highest level, especially in real estate, it's really, really hard for them to work 4 hours, right? I easily some days work 10 hours. It just depends on the day. I do take one day a week off. I do take Sundays off. It's a good day to spend time with my family and a good day to plan for the upcoming week. But I think for us, especially as entrepreneurs who are out here building, it's a lot harder. Once you get to where you're going, right? Whatever your goals are, I think the 4 hour work week can be achieved. But I personally don't see a lot of entrepreneurs with your kind of hustle, my kind of hustle, able to get everything into 4 hours as we're building these empires.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I do believe a lot in leverage. So right now, my
Right.
mindset is how can I leverage more? What can I give up so that I can really focus on what I love, which is now educating people and teaching individuals how they can themselves grow and make more money in real estate through
Excellent,
investment.
Rosa. What tools are you using to kind of leverage your time and leverage the time of others and tools in order to actually grow your business?
So right now, I hire two individuals. I have an individual that is in Africa, and he's going to be running my whole entire online business. And he's the
Nice.
one that's making sure the Google, the YouTube, that everything is being, and he just created a website for me with the SEO. So his job is to make sure that I become very famous online. And then I have
Love it.
another individual. He's in Pakistan. And what he does is he creates my flyers. He does all my video editing. So for shorts, for YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. So he does all that, the editing, making sure everything looks pretty. And then right now, I do have a person that's helping me with just following up with the clients that I already have that are already in the pipeline. And another individual where she's just more than anything, just cold calling. Right now, I am looking to hire someone that can just focus on the rental side and focus on showing. So that's my next step right now.
Thank you for sharing that because I think a lot of folks start off as solopreneurs and they stay in that phase too long, Rosa, and you can't scale. Like from the conference we went to, we had Dr. Benjamin Hardy talking about really picking a path where it forces you to use leverage to grow, right? You might be able to close 10,000, 20,000 a month, but imagine if you built a team that could close each person's 10,000. You just went from closing 10 yourself to 40,000 a month by leveraging, again, talent, tools, and tech. And I'm big on that as well. So, I really appreciate you sharing that because I think a lot of folks out there needed to hear that.
I do want to say one tip because I created a big team of 6 people. And one of the mistakes that I did was that I kind of hire people too quickly. Everybody is like, I want to work with you. I want to work with you. And I would say, even if you're struggling in terms of you have too much on your table, don't just get anybody in your team because that one person can damage the entire team. So your job is to say, okay, is this a person that I can see long term? How can we work together versus just jumping onto anybody? I would always say first, pay people, first hire people that you can pay, and then start thinking about who you can hire that can be on commission base. So do it the right way first, pay, put some skin in the game, and then hire people that you can now leverage your lead and things like that. Because your name, right? If you're thinking of this big brand, your name is the biggest thing. Once your name is damaged because you had the wrong person, people don't care. They still just look at your name. So the big thing is protect your name. That's where I'm at. My name is very much protected. So that's the key, is protect your name, especially when you're looking to leverage people. I mean, leverage you yourself.
That is a great point, Rosa, because we hear a lot of people talk about leverage and hiring and bringing people in, but you don't hear what happens when it goes wrong, right? When it doesn't work out. And so I appreciate you sharing that because a lot of folks think it's easy, but I think this is going to really hopefully encourage people to kind of step back a little bit and come up with a process. I know for me, I was talking to one of my mentees yesterday, actually, and I told him, like, before I hire anyone, I need to see 3 characteristics, and everybody's on a probationary period, but first and foremost, they've got to have a positive attitude. They've got to be hungry, right? They got to have that drive. They can't be lazy, kind of sitting back. And one of the most important pieces, especially when you're working with people day to day, they have to be solution oriented. Don't come to me with a problem without a solution next to it, right? If something isn't working, come up with something that you think will help get us forward. And when you build a team of people who have that mindset, it really empowers you to grow quickly, and for me, if I see someone, I hired someone recently, I gave them two chances. I was like, all right, the first time I trained them, showed them what to do. The second time they came back to me like, oh, what do we do again? I showed them that again. The third time they came back, and again, they didn't come back with any solutions. They just came back saying, well, I'm stuck. I'm like, all right, you know what? This really isn't the role for you. I'm going to move in a different direction, and it's okay, right? I think we have to, as you said, protect our name, protect our brand, and protect our clients from a bad experience associated with us. Because at the end of the day, that's really how our business is going to grow. So, no, I appreciate it, and I can definitely relate to it. Yep.
Absolutely. And I would just say too, like, it's okay if you start from scratch again, just like you did. You're like, you know what? I taught them because sometimes we get stuck. Well, they already know. It's okay. Let me
Right.
just teach them. It's like, you know what? Let me start fresh. Yes, it's going to, again, I'm going to take a load on, but trust me, if you keep that person, it might affect you even longer over time.
Absolutely. I'll tell you this, Rosa, right? I got a story about that. And I'll start with this. The sooner you get rid of those folks, the better. I had someone in my business for over 10 years. I'd helped him come up. Still a good friend of mine. He's kind of transitioned to just being an agent with my brokerage firm. And he also helps out with the lending. But, he and I had spoken, and I told him that I was going to be transitioning him from salary to being basically an independent contractor. And I was concerned because I didn't know how he'd react because he had worked for me for literally 10 years on payroll. And so the first thing he said to me when I did it, he was like, man, I'm surprised it took you this long. So he was looking for the opportunity to kind of spread his wings and move up, then move on, And so that's what I say. Don't wait 10 years, do it sooner, because you'd be surprised at the reaction of the other side. Sometimes folks are looking for that push to grow themselves and really to develop a different skill set, which he's doing now, and he's doing great. So no, that's awesome that you shared that. Yep. Cool. The other thing I want to talk about, kind of switch gears a little bit, Rosa, you talked about educational real estate related programs. So talk a little bit about what your plan is there. You had mentioned helping people buy at auctions. Have you bought at auctions, or is that a part of your strategy?
So I have been at auctions. Have I personally purchased an auction? Not yet. That is my next goal. Have I purchased properties that are distressed? I've done that myself, but I have
Like,
not purchased auction properties. I do have a lot of the thing here in New York that I'm realizing that within the auction right now, there's a bit of a mafia where,
mm,
they can put a stop. So not anybody can just go ahead and bid. You think you can, but it's very, very, very strict, especially in Queens. If you go to Long Island, have more lenient there. So my goal
what,
right now.
well, not to start, Rosa, what happens? I know in Boston, anyone can go and bid. In Queens, you can't do that?
You could do that. The thing is that because again, there's a very low inventory here. So let's say they say there's going to be 10 properties that are going to come to auction. In reality, only 5 will come into auction. You have
Mm,
the same amount of investors that are going there. So these investors, because there's only 5, and now you have approximately when I went, you usually have 30 to 4 investors. They're all the same individual. So if you tell one, hey, don't bet on it, then they won't bid on it. If you tell one, hey, you know what, who's this newbie? We're going to go ahead and go crazy because they don't know what they're doing. We're going to go high and create this because, again, it's
wow.
only 5 properties. There's time there's only 1 or 2 properties that come into the auction.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's
That's wild.
one. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm thinking about that. So my goal now is I'm partnering up with someone already that already has the connection with the auctions. So we're doing a class together. So we're partnering up to do that class. Uh, June 12th is when we're actually doing the live event. We're going to have a recording on that, but that's when we're going to have investors that only buy through auctions. We're going to teach people how to how to actually get the financing to buy an auction property, how to do a little bit of the fix and flip and some success stories. And then on July 17th is when we're going to start our first class. It's going to be a 4-week class where we're going to go very deep in. We're going to have investors that are going to go there. We're going to have a hard lender loan, a mortgage person that's going to go and tell us about how to get the financing. So that's going to be very much into detail, and it's going to be a 4-week class.
Excellent, Rosa. So the auctions is really the main focus now. Are you going to have other educational programs as well? Or that's really the first one, and you kind of see how it goes.
That's going to be the first one, but that's also the auction is going to be combined also with the stress property because of
Okay.
what did I just mention? It's very, right? You're only having a limited amount of properties that are going into auction. There's already a bit of a control within the auction. So if there's this control within the auction, then what's the next best step? It's for me to teach you how to get distressed property, how to get what is the
Or
different right before it even goes into the auction. How can you
right.
get it before? So that's really what I'm going to go into is how to buy distressed properties, how to fix them, and give you different strategies to exit, whether it's to keep it, whether it's to flip it, whether it's to rent it. So there's a lot that we're going to be providing in that course.
Nice. No, that's great because a lot of folks need that piece of, all right, I want a property. I totally know how these auctions work, so they'll be educated there. But yeah, no, especially in this market, what we're finding with a lot of properties that are in pre-foreclosure right now, Rosa, they still have equity, right? This is weird because in previous years, the last cycle when I was buying short sales and flipping short sales, a lot of those, all the pre-foreclosures, none of them had equity. Now the majority of them do. So it really creates a great opportunity for investors to make these sellers offers where they can make an offer where the seller gets some money, they can get a fresh start, and they don't have to compete with the auction mafia, as you said. So
Exactly.
yeah, no, that makes total sense.
The other thing too with these short sales is that, let's say a realtor, a lot of the short sales that are coming here, they're actually almost the same price as market value. So it's again
Yeah,
coming with different strategy for you to target people. It not none doesn't necessarily need to be just a homeowner that's behind on their payment. It could be a house that's empty. We have a lot of properties that are empty here. That's why you hear a lot about squatters here. So there's so many ways for you to get off market deals. And I also have a lot of investors that are buying in the auction. They are flipping those contracts. So that's what I'm also
yep.
teaching. How can you flip contracts within the auction? We have a lot of off market deals that if you say, you know what, I have X amount of money, I want to invest that money, great. We already have a list of properties that I'm going to be showcasing at our event tomorrow where you're going to see what's off market and you can jump into that deal if it makes sense for you.
I love that. Yeah, we have a local group that does similar stuff here in Boston, and those are some of the best meetups I've been to. Right, is the energy's alive, money's being made literally right there. So I commend you for setting that up, Rosa, because a lot of folks are gonna get a lot of value from that. Talk a little bit about your motivation, Rosa, because obviously you are highly motivated. I can feel the energy through the Zoom meeting here. And I think a lot of folks, that's something they struggle with, right? Like how to find that daily motivation. So you have any habits that you jump into or you adopted? Has it always been that way for you? Just speak a little bit about that.
Well, my motivation has changed throughout the years. I do remember that when I started real estate, the hustle was different. Before I was working 10, 15 hours. Now I try to stay at 4 to 5 hours a day. So the hustle has changed. My motivation when I first started was like, I want that house. Now my motivation to me is how can I create more freedom? My habits that I've always done is, I wake up early. I love meditating just to kind of ease it because I do have a lot of energy. So it's like to bring it down, to kind of like really get that energy focused in one way and see, okay, what is it that's important to me? I do have 7 questions that I ask myself from, what are the 7 things that I need to get accomplished today? What do I really love to do? And just ask myself all those questions every single day because my mind starts really somehow finagling it so that it can actually happen. So that's
Right.
one of the things that I do. I love praying and I love reading as well. And my bigger motivation right now is again, I want to know what is the best version that I can be, right? I am super right now for me, fitness is important, health is important. So I do go to the gym. I do the sauna for 20 minutes, 4 times a week straight. I am very much focused on my diet. So I'm focused on what I put in my body. And I'm also focused on what I'm putting out there into the world. So I do affirmations as well. And again, my motivation is like, I just want to be the best version of myself. I want to be able to inspire others and I want to inspire myself as I continue to grow. I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, I passed through my old high school and I'm like, my gosh, I would have never thought that I would be this person when I was in high school, let alone when I was in elementary school. So, and even thinking back when I started real estate, I'm like, well, I would never think that I would get to this level, own multiple properties, fix a few properties, own property in DR. Now I'm selling property in DR as well, have a little group going on over there. I would have never thought that I was able to leverage and help people in my community in DR and then sell real estate here, fix properties, sell them, and just be at where I'm at. And now that I'm going into this new side of the business, this is my new motivation because there are times that I'm gonna be real. I got burnt out with real estate. I'm like, oh, okay, I did 7 years. I worked my rear off for 5 years. I hit all the goals that I wanted. That now I'm like, oh, what else do I do? And this is the new thing that I do now where it's like, okay, let me educate people. Let me get in a bigger platform and educate people and really show people that, man, if I did it and I made money, I'm not that special. We're all special in our own way. Just by doing a little different and knowing that you can be better than where you are, that your change not only changed me, but my whole entire family life has changed. And now I'm becoming more of a, my younger cousins and their kids are looking up to me. And that's what I want to do is give them the way. And I'm like, if you want to be like me, you're going to be way better than me because I already paved the way. And obviously I'm going to teach you and help you. So that's my goal now. It's like, how many people can I help and impact and make them money? Because there's so much money out there. We shouldn't be struggling, especially here in the United States. We should not be struggling. We should be around the right people, read the right thing, consume the right things, because there's people right now that you and I went to this course. I mean, to this conference, and there were people that made $1 million in one day, 100,000,
Right.
350,000 in one day. So the money's out there.
Yep.
It's just positioning ourselves to be out there and not to live a crazy life either. So, yeah, I guess that's what motivates me now.
I love it. I love it. No, you really have found a way to scale yourself into becoming a role model, right? You built it piece by piece. And I like that you share, Rosa, your process. It's daily. It's not something where you set it and forget it. It's a one-time thing, and then you just become this person. It takes constant work. It takes consistent commitment. And it really takes you understanding that we're always transforming, right? If we're staying still, we're going backwards, right? You always got to be striving and reaching forward towards your future. And, with that said, did you have any mentors that helped you? Are you a part of any networking groups where, you feel like you go to get support and strength and have learned how to become the version of yourself you are today?
I mean, there's so many courses that I took in the last 10 years. I mean, from what do you call him? Tony Robbins to John DeMartini. I've taken Mike Ferry. I want to say that I probably between coaching and going to conference, I'm well off probably spend over $60,000, I would say, within that 10 years. For me, also my friends, I would say, are my books. So if I'm not around people I would say to people like, if you can't go into networking because maybe it's too expensive or you can't join these mastermind groups, there's so many books that give so much information and even podcasts like the one here. I'm always listening to podcasts. So when people ask me, hey, who is your mentors? It's the podcast. It's the people that, hey, I listened to one podcast. I like that individual. Now I'm going through the whole process and saying, okay, let me listen to all their podcasts. Let me get into their mind. And that's really where my mentors will be, I would say. And then obviously people that are making way more than I am that are in like that Mike Ferry group. I've connected with those individuals. And it's all about who am I and where do I want to be? Now my whole goal is I want to get into the digital space. So now I'm going to join a bigger group where that's where their main focus is, right? So my goal is who is where I want to be and how can I get into those groups?
No, that's great, Rosa, because it really speaks on your consistent and continued investment in yourself. Like that is so important. I'm a big believer in that as well. I do the same. I can't even count how many books, audiobooks, podcasts. I'm in a mastermind, as we talked about earlier, and we're joining a new mastermind that we're both going to be a part of with Myron and his team. And so, no, I'm super excited to see what the future has for you as you're continuing to grow.
For us both, I'm very excited because I know you have a lot of great things coming up as well. So I'm very excited to see your path and to see each other's path for sure.
Appreciate that. So, Rosa, when reflecting on your life and really looking at all you've accomplished thus far, what advice would you give to your younger self or someone who was just getting started in business, kind of making that transition from being in corporate to going into real estate?
I think that I would say to my younger self, or even a version of myself that is scared to make a jump, I would say go back and remember what you've actually accomplished and how you were able to go through it. And it's like, just try it because you know what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. And so what? At least you tried it. The last thing you want to do is say, wow, I didn't do this and I should have done it. So my thing is just do it. Worst that can happen is you can go back. That's what it was for me with work. It was like, you know what? Get out of real estate. You already have a bachelor's degree. You already know that you already know that you are a great admin. So worst case scenario, you start real estate for a year. You have a little bit of money. If it doesn't work out, then you go back into administrative assistant. You can do that. So I would say just try because the worst thing you can ever do is just die thinking, I wish I should have. and partner up
Right.
with the right people. Have the right people around you, have the right friends. Do not take advice from anyone that is not where you want to be. Or so if a friend of yours, you're asking them, hey, should I invest in this real estate? And they don't own real estate, that's the wrong person to ask. So I would say
Absolutely.
ask for advice, but from the right people, and don't take anybody's advice. Sit with it for about a day, sleep on it, pray on it, and then make a decision.
Great advice. Those are some gems you drop right there. I hope the audience is paying attention out there. No, that was awesome. Beautiful. So as we wrap up here, Rosa, anything you want to share, hobbies, hidden talents, organizations you're a part of, things that many people may not know about you?
Well, let's see. The thing that many people might not know about me is that I do have an organization called Simple Gifts Transform Lives. It's a nonprofit. And what I do is I am from the Dominican Republic. So every year around Christmas time, I go back to the Dominican Republic. I give book bags to kids. And inside the book bags, I fill them up with socks, hygiene items, and school supplies. So I try to do about 100 kids. And I would say since I started, I used to do Operation Christmas Child. So I used to do little boxes, fill it up with toys. So I've been able to give gifts to about 400 kids. And I love, 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 love doing going into missions trips. So I love translating for doctors overseas.
That is awesome, Rosa. How can people connect to that organization? And then also, we're going to get into the other stuff, but is there a website for your nonprofit?
Right now, I do not have a website for the nonprofit because I have everything kind of combined with me. So I have it on LinkedIn and also on Instagram.
Okay, excellent. So how can people connect with you in general? IG, email, website? Let the folks know how they can get to know you and support you.
So Rosa Talks Real Estate is my Instagram. If you Google Rosa Collado, you'll be able to get all my information there. My phone number is 917-833-0582. And it's Rosa Talks Real Estate. And I also have another organization called Casa Latina Social. That's where I'm really trying to get our community together, specifically the Spanish community, minorities, to come in together, not only socialize, but really learn about real estate. So Casa Latina Social, Rosa Talks Real Estate.
Love it. And you got these events coming up. So anyone who's out there who wants to connect with Rosa on future events, because this may air right around the same time the events are happening, may not have enough time, but definitely connect with Rosa and she'll be able to let you know when you can come learn and be a part of her ecosystem that she's building that you definitely want to be a part of, because I already know it's going to be major. And I'm super excited, Rosa. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really commend you for your commitment to yourself, your commitment to your community, and really striving to have a massive impact for anyone you come in contact with. I can see the energy coming off of you. And again, definitely want to recognize you for that.
Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate you. I'm super excited. And again, I'm here to help out and educate as many people as I can. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's a wrap.